episode is titled Leadership, Legacy, and the Power of Communities. This is a place where we will talk about leadership, resilience, purpose, courage, and the bold moves that make a difference in our communities. I am Carol Young, your host, and the founder of Be Bold Institute, where we believe that boldness isn't the absence of fear, but it's the courage to move forward in spite of it. I'm so honored today to introduce you to our esteemed guest who leads with that same courage and that heart. Her name is Commissioner Monique Sheffield, Cobb County Commissioner for District 4. Commissioner Sheffield, welcome to Carol's Courageous Conversations, and thank you so much for coming. And how are you today?
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for having me today. It's certainly a pleasure to spend some time with you in the community. I am doing very well today.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to jump right in.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So let's talk about community and leadership.
Sure.
All right. So let's start with maybe some of our listeners are not really aware of what a Cobb Commissioner does. So could you kind of tell us, like in your daily business, what do you do as a commissioner, and also some unique priorities that you focused on in District 4?
Sure. Okay, so I'll start with the first question.
Okay.
What exactly do we do? Okay, I am still trying to figure that out myself. I'm in the start of my second term. I was initially elected in 2020 and again in 2024. The commissioner is a very unique position. Now, here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the bylaws and what the laws say we do, and then what I do separately.
Okay.
So as commissioners, we're responsible for setting policy, and I'll give you the top 3 areas of responsibility for a commissioner. One would be setting policy. We're policymakers. The other would be public safety. So public safety is not just police and fire. Public safety is also animal safety, keeping dangerous animals off the street and keeping you protected from animals. And then the third would be appropriating the budget. So Cobb County's budget, believe it or not, is a whopping $1.3 billion. $1.3 billion. Now, what I will say is Cobb County is the 3rd largest county in Georgia out of 159 counties. Currently, we are at 785,000 residents, and we're expected to grow to close to 1 million in just 25 years. So you can imagine how important my role is in ensuring that we have accommodations and infrastructure, etc., to anticipate the growth of Cobb County. Okay, so that's the first set of responsibility. The second set is what I'll say is community engagement. Because if I cannot connect with my community and satisfy or meet the needs of my community, then what am I in office for? So, but it is a balance because there are different needs for different communities. And even within my district of District 4, which encompasses South Cobb and Southwest Cobb, so that's Mableton, Austell, Powder Springs, parts of Marietta, and parts of Smyrna. So each commission district in Cobb County is roughly 185,000 residents. So even in that with District 4, it's very diverse, even within District 4, because I have a block of constituents that can benefit from public transportation, and then they need public transportation, but then I have a block that would also benefit from a Trader Joe's. So it's like, how do you bridge that gap, make the balance, strike a balance that's going to satisfy and meet the needs of everyone in the community? I've been very engaged in the community even before running for office. So it's rewarding. It's a lot of responsibility. Day to day is connecting with constituents. As you can imagine, we receive a ton of emails every day, and I'm committed to getting through those emails because people need to be connected to their elected officials, right? So if it's an issue, no matter how small or how big, I'm here to hear the constituents and help them to satisfy and meet those needs and satisfy those concerns.
Wow, now that's powerful.
It is powerful. And that second question you asked about priorities, there are tons of them. So when I ran in 2020, my platform was focused on our future. So that future included healthy lifestyles. Where can we have supermarkets in some areas that are deemed food deserts? Working on that. So we have health and wellness, which was a priority for me in 2020 and is still a priority in 2024 in my second term. And now I have a little bit more time to really dedicate and move that initiative forward, the Healthy Living Initiative. Also in 2020, and let me add that, your priorities, they carry over. So I can certainly understand why elected officials run multiple times, because it takes multiple times of running to make sure that things get done and that your vision is executed in a way that you have learned that the community desire those items within their communities. So health and wellness, 2020 priority, flipped over to my second term. Smart growth and development. Before I became a commissioner, I served on the Board of Zoning Appeals for Cobb County. During that time, the Commissioner Cupid, who was commissioner at the time, she hosted a lot of town hall meetings. And during those town hall meetings and also those zoning meetings, there were a lot of feedback from the community. Well, we want more restaurants. We want what Smyrna has, and these are quotes. But the thing is, in order for us to have those things, particularly restaurants and businesses and retailers, they're looking for rooftops, right? So if you have rooftops, then you have what? You have density. Everybody doesn't want density, but they want the amenities that come along with density. So there again, you're trying to strike a balance between progress and preservation, right? Which isn't always the most easy thing to do. So it's bringing forth health and wellness initiatives, smart development, which also includes rewriting our zoning codes, which currently we are in the midst of doing that currently. And also just satisfying the needs of the community.
Powerful. You're bringing leadership to life through action. That is so powerful, Commissioner Sheffield.
It is very powerful. And it's a lot, but when you've been called to do something, it doesn't seem like it's that much.
Right. And you have been called. You're out here working. So what's a recent project or initiative in Cobb County that you're especially proud of, and how do you see it impacting families long term?
Okay. There are a couple of things. So I'll focus on some of those big wins from my first term. I remember one evening I was just sitting on a couch kind of going through some emails. It must have been about, 11:30 at night. And I was going through some emails. So I saw an email notification from Congressman David Scott's office. And it was a funding opportunity for grants. So I said, okay. And it was for transportation in particular. So I said, wow, why don't I give a shot in completing this application to try and secure funding for the South Cobb Transit Station. So the South Cobb Transit Station is a bus hub, much like what you see near Cumberland Mall, across from Cumberland Mall. So it would be like a bus hub or bus depot where several buses will come into that location. That was a project that was on the 22 SPLOST that was identified by the previous commissioner. But once it's on the SPLOST, our goal is to get it done. So we identified a location, and I said, hey, you know what? The application is due in about 30 minutes. I think I can get it done in 30 minutes. So I submitted the application, and a few months later, David Scott's office responded and awarded us $1.3 million in matching funds for the project. So I'm very excited. That was one of my very first wins, which I was super, super excited about. So with that win came along with funding for the South Cobb Health Center, which will be along Riverside Parkway. That is an area that can definitely benefit from having those type of amenities in the immediate area. So we talk about our lack of transportation or access to transportation, we can satisfy that need. Right?
Yes.
You can walk to your doctor's appointments now. You can walk to prenatal care. You can walk to access mental health care. You can walk to a food pantry, which we'll also have at that location. So utilizing $1 million of my contingency funds, and we only receive, I don't want to say only, but each commissioner receives $1 million to put towards, for each budget cycle, to put towards those projects within their district to help them get over the finish line or to close the funding gap. So last year, at the end of my first term, and as a Christmas gift to the community, I gifted the entire $1 million to close the gap on the medical center. We're still a little short, so I've been working with Congresswoman Lucy McBath, which she has been an extremely strong advocate and partner in South Cobb. So we've been working alongside her to get additional funding. Also with John Ossoff and Warnock's office, we've also partnered with them to secure funding. So that's coming, that's happening. That's also in my first term. So there are a lot of different accomplishments, but those are two that come to mind that I'm most proud of. And actually, there is a third, but that deals more with retail and development. So there is a plaza in Austell, which is now Mableton, the Hobby Lobby Plaza, which was very close. I don't know if I can say this, but I will. They were very close to not renewing their lease when that property went under redevelopment. So the developer purchased the property in 2020, right before I assumed office, and he's made some major changes, and I'm really proud of the development. I worked very closely with him to bring in the Olive Garden. So we have the Olive Garden there. Just going back to hearing the community, we want more restaurants. Now we have a family restaurant within the community. We also now have a Floor and Decor in the same plaza. We also have Bath and Body Works that's coming there. Ulta 2 is there.
Yes.
7 Brews Coffee. And I guess I can say this, but I am in talks with Sprouts. I met with them last year, and they pretty much said, well, you're not quite ready for prime time. Well, a year has gone by, and there's been a lot of development, so I'm meeting with them to give it a second shot.
Yes.
To have Sprouts at that development. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow, Commissioner Sheffield, that is amazing. And I love how intentional planning can create lasting change. And
exactly.
You mentioned the Olive Garden. My
Yeah.
family and I have actually eaten at the Olive Garden, and it was phenomenal. It's
Isn't
really
it
pretty.
beautiful? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the food was good, and the service was top tier.
Good.
We are very we love customer service, like great customer service, and they gave it to us.
Right. Yeah, I was very excited. We had to do a little creative engineering because there were a few zoning hurdles that we needed to get over, but we were able to get over them. My thought was, whatever we need to do, let's get this done.
And you did.
And we got it done. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Love it. So South Cobb, you mentioned
Yeah.
South Cobb, and you mentioned Austell. Now it's the new Mableton.
Yeah.
So it's growing exponentially so fast. How do you balance growth and development while making sure residents and small businesses aren't left behind?
Right. And that's always the challenge. As I mentioned a short while ago, there's always this balance between progress and preservation, right? Because you get to a point where you have buildings that are beyond their useful life, and we may see a little bit more of that in some areas of South Cobb than we may see in other areas. But I want people to be mindful that South Cobb was one of the very first areas in Cobb County to be developed. So that kind of explains why some of the building and the infrastructure may just look a little older. So we were one of the first areas in Cobb County to be developed. So it's prime opportunity for redevelopment within the immediate area. Our businesses, they help keep our communities going. So the community, we must support our local businesses, but there's always an opportunity to grow upon businesses, right? We have several businesses within the community that I know are joining forces with one another. It's not about competition, it's all about being successful, right? So there's always that, and with the new development that we're sparking along Veterans Memorial, and I'll go back when you asked about accomplishments. Some may not see this as a big accomplishment, but I do. Approving Chick-fil-A on Veterans Memorial. Now, here's the thing.
So exciting.
Here's the thing with that, the backstory. The county, we were sued because I denied that application my first year in office and my second year in office. So there was a chain auto-related store, I don't want to say the name, that wanted to develop at that site. And I denied it 2 times in a row. And the second time they sued the county and sued me, which is okay. But the settlement of litigation did not involve exchange of funds. Instead, it was an agreement. So one of the agreements at that time, well, for one, I put a deed restriction on the property. The reason I did a deed restriction because if I had included a zoning stipulation that said no auto related stores, right? Mm-hmm. A different board, an applicant can come before a different board and ask for that to be removed, and then it would be removed and we'll still have the auto related store. But when you have a deed restriction, it's a lot more red tape because you have to go to court, you have to get attorneys involved. So most times for people, it's like not worth the hassle. So we have a deed restriction on it. But the one thing we also had on there is no drive-through restaurants.
Oh.
We had no drive-through restaurants. So Chick-fil-A came a call in and they're like, can you please